Easy go live, so it's hopefully won't be too bad because I am in my car. But if you guys come on, I did want to see a couple of things and ask you guys a couple of questions real quick. If you come on and see this, if not, I'll try to get home. I probably won't do it when I get home, but I wanted to ask you guys a couple of questions. I just watched that Joe Rogan podcast with Lewis on there, and I haven't completely finished it, which I'm driving in my car. But I saw it and I said, let me pull over and let me ask you guys a couple of things about this. So hopefully this comes out. This is kind of totally unplanned. Of course, it's not the best live in the world because it is at night, and like I said, I'm in my car. So we'll give this a minute. I think I did this as public, but we'll see if anybody sees and gets this. If not, I'll have to come back and redo it, which I think I may have to. Give this just another minute. Welcome to live chat. Blah blah blah. If this comes on and you guys are on there and can see this, if you guys see it, you can put a comment down. Please do, just so I know that you're on here. Like I said, this is a unexpected live chat, but I wanted to ask you guys a couple of questions about that recent Joe Rogan, podcast. That was just very interesting. So I see if about 4 or 5 people came on. So if you guys could put a comment. Okay, good. I do. You guys can comment because I'm in my car. I've never done it like this before. But I did watch some of that Joe Rogan podcast with Lewis on there. You guys know he's one of the recent whistleblowers that came out from the Pentagon, etc. Blah blah blah. I did put some stuff out there on the community page about it, and he said something he said a couple things that was controversial, and I should probably do a whole video edit on and stuff like that. I'm trying to finish watching it, and then I need to look in a couple of things that he said too. But one of the things he said, I'm going to go ahead and get to. I know I'm beating around the bush. Was he talked about the Roswell crash. And in there, he said that there were 2 crafts. One craft crashed and the other one took off. And I saw that as part of a short or something somewhere. So I was like, that's interesting. So I don't know if you guys saw that or not. But I had to pull over and I had to at least say something about it too so I won't forget. Because I got 1,000,001 things that I'm trying to do. But I thought that was interesting. I don't know if you guys watched that yet. I should put a link below in the description. But just look up Joe Rogan and just look up his recent podcast and you'll see that on there. And you'll see that he talked about that. He talked about several other things. And of course, when they get on there, they can't talk about particular things because it's a threat to national security and all that and whatever else they say. But the whole Roswell thing kind of shocked me somewhat. Hopefully you guys can see me better if I do this. And I didn't know if you guys had saw that or if anyone has seen that yet. But I'll probably give it a couple of days before I come back and touch back on this subject. So I see it's just a couple of people on here, so I appreciate you joining, but I just did not know what to say on that. He said a couple other controversial things too that had me kind of going, And I know you guys said in the comments he's kind of a government planner or misinformant and all that, which he could be. I mean, he just recently released a book too this week, so go and behold, he releases a book, and he's going to be on Joe Rogan. He's on several other shows, of course, to get the book sales. I mean, I'm not going to knock anybody for working and doing what they're doing and all this and that, but I personally, and this is just going to be kind of a complaining in a way too, if you're going to be a whistleblower, be a whistleblower. Just that, plain and simple. Be a whistleblower and have something that's going to protect yourself too, like Bob Lazar. Hey, what's going on, Ryan and Ishmael? You guys are on too. Be a Bob Lazar whistleblower where you have something that can keep you safe. I mean, Bob Lazar is safe because he worked at S4 in Area 51, and I think he's got element 115, and that's kept him safe all these years, and they don't know where it's at. So I mean, he recently had a movie with Jeremy Corbell. They got in secret, they talked about it. It wasn't there, but the government came to his house next day. But see, you guys are coming on. I missed the beginning. Freddie, I was watching this Joe Rogan podcast on Luis Elizondo, I think that's his last name, and he recently released a book this week. And I've been watching some of the podcasts, and I saw a couple of shorts. And in one of the shorts and stuff he talked about was Roswell, the crash at Roswell. And he said that there were 2 crafts. One craft crashed and the other one took off. And I was like, what the? Oh no. I was like, was it dead? I had to pull over. I was like, no, I gotta ask you guys about that. Because there's so much misinformation about Roswell. The last thing we need is someone to throw another wrench into this UFO phenomenon. It's just hard for me to say UAP, but into this UFO phenomenon. So I just wasn't sure about that. And he said a couple other things, and if you're gonna come out with a book and you're gonna come out and be a whistleblower, blow the whistle. Don't sit up here and this. Just do it. You know, like I said, Bob Lazar did it, and I know some people don't believe him. I personally do, which everybody teaches on. But he's got element 115. He's got some of it. I think that's kept him safe. And he said he can say things to prove his point, but he's tired of it. That's what he's always said. You know, the things that he stated has come true with the UFOs. And there's no denying that once he came out about Area 51, the place got popular. So I know you guys a couple of comments, and I apologize. This is a bad live because I'm sitting in my Corvette. I was driving, and I decided to listen to that podcast as I was coming home, and I was like, oh, wait a minute. And he says just some controversial stuff. So I'm sorry. Let me get you guys' comments. So I appreciate you guys joining in and chiming too. Like I said, I'm probably going to apologize a million times. This is not the best live, but there were 3 crashes that year. I'm trying to in 1953. Kingman Amazon retrieval was the big one. I have to look it up. I never heard about that. Hey, I took a video of the UAP here. Yeah, Corey, send that over to me. Send it to my email. It's littlekingdombuilder@gmail.com. I usually put it in the description of my other videos so you can see it there. But if you can, put it in there and send it over to me. I'd love to show it to people. Or if you can, just send it through a Dropbox or something, because I like that you guys interact with my videos. I know a lot of people say stuff is fake. I'm just putting out there what I see. I mean, I've seen UFOs. I've never had a chance to film them in the past. And I need to go down to a couple places here in Georgia because some people are filming them. But the biggest thing was this whole Lewis guy and what he came out with and some of the stuff he said it's just too controversial. I mean, I know he's getting popular because of what he's done before in the past, but I don't know, it's kind of suspect, especially the whole Roswell thing. I just thought that here we go again, 2024, that happened in 1947. Was that 50, 60 years later almost? We're coming up on the 60th anniversary or something of Roswell. And we're still getting, our 70th anniversary probably, we're still getting new information now. You know, the people that were involved, if I was involved and I was sworn to secrecy or whatever, I would have had something to where when I passed away. It's out there now. It is what it is. That's just me though. But so anyway, I was wondering if you guys had seen that. I should have put a link in the description, but I had to pull over and go live for a minute to ask you guys about that because I hardly go live as it is. But Ryan says he thinks he's legit. I got to see some more stuff on him because that whole Roswell thing, I don't know if I buy that or not. If there were 2 crashes, two craft that crashed, why did the other craft leave? You know, I mean, thanks, Corey. I appreciate that. You'll send it over and I'll share with people. So if 2 craft had crashed, why did the other craft leave? Now, I know I'm thinking in human terms that if something goes down, you're there to help it out or whatever, or where's the recovery units and stuff like that. You know, something else happened. I've heard several different stories about the Roswell stuff. And I don't know if you guys want to hear the other 2 stories, but this is going to add to it. And maybe I should just do a 20, 30-minute video on the theories of what crashed at Roswell. Maybe that'll make a good video or something like that. Because what Lewis just put on there was another spin to the whole Roswell thing. Yo, Lance is just a kind of the masses. Like I said, it's just hard for me to believe that because he just threw another wrench on there. So the Roswell things, I've heard several different things. Boyd Bushman said that something we had that was an experimental craft saw the UFO and went and shot it down. When he shot it down with the Tesla ray, something that was created from HARP. He landed whatever he was flying, saw the craft, saw the bodies, heard people coming or heard the ambulance stuff coming, and he took off. That was one story. Then I heard another story where lightning hit the craft and it made the craft crash. Then I heard, what was that lady that was on Joe Rogan that talked about the crash in Roswell? It wasn't a UFO, that it was some kind of spy plane or something, that or part of something that the Soviet Union jettisoned off into our airspace, and it crashed, and what came out wasn't alien beings. It was actually like Down syndrome kids that the Soviet Union did experiments on and made them look kind of weird, which is just so weird. And then I heard it was actually aliens. So that's like 4 to 5 stories right there talking about Roswell. So So I'm trying. Freddie says I believe some of what Lewis says, but after Arrow, I trust the government less than I already did. Yeah, now, like I said, there may be some kind of truth to it, but and Ryan says I've heard that before, but the Kingman, Arizona crash is where they got the live bodies. Okay, I have to check that out because my memory doesn't serve correct on this. So I have to look on it and get some information. And Jesse Marcel was not an idiot. It was not a balloon. Yeah, and that was the thing about it. I mean, we know I got introduced to that in the what was it, 1980s, with the whole with Unsolved Mysteries first talking about Roswell. They did an excellent job on it. You know, Jesse Marcel and all that. I mean, even his son, when he came in, he saw some of the pieces of the craft. I remember saying he folded it and unfolded. It looked like aluminum foil. Now, some of the stuff that Lewis said in the Joe Rogan podcast, you know, I believe there's certain materials that we probably don't know about, but he says these certain materials can actually create a bubble or distortion around the crafts to help them distort gravity, which we know they do. He did talk about at some point there being the reason why they're not called UFOs anymore, because they're thinking of unidentified flying objects, and at that time they were thinking about wings and flying, but a lot of these objects are actually underwater and all that. And he talked about some large object that they saw underwater that passed through a ship or something larger than the ship. But Joe Rogan brings up some very good points, stating stuff like, if all this is out here, how come civilians haven't seen it? I mean, with our today's technology in 2024, and as much as we have our cell phones out, and I know you guys have said this in the videos, we should have more footage of whether it's clear or not, but we should have some more footage of some stuff. You know, how is this kept under wraps this much? That's just my thing. And if you're going to be a whistleblower, blow the whistle. You know, I mean, if you're going to come out and you're going to write books and stuff, I wouldn't buy his book, because what's his book going to tell me that he's not saying online or I can't find in the video? So that's just me. That's just my opinion of it. But let's see what I'm going back to a couple of these comments. Like I said, if you guys are just joining, I'm in my car. I was listening to the Joe Rogan podcast on Lewis. He got on there. He recently released a book this week. I thought about buying the book, but I'm not 100% sure, because I figure if he's a whistleblower, what's he going to say in the book that he can't say publicly, which he wouldn't do? So he's still under the classified information and all that stuff. But he said some stuff about Roswell and other things, and I'm like, it made me shake my head. And I said, let me get with you guys real quick and get some of your thoughts and also say hi. So I'll go through a couple of these comments, and I am sitting in my car here, so I do apologize if you guys hear noise. I don't even know how good the video quality is. It could be horrible. I could be looking like a 1980s bad guy character, being so distorted or something. But okay, that did get to in the comments. So like I said, I don't know. I put a link in the community page if you guys want to check out that podcast and see what he's talking about. I think when he had Jeremy Corbell, and I can't think of the investigative reporter right now that interviewed Bob Lazar. When they were on there, that was a good interview. When Bob Lazar was on there, that was a good interview. And Joe's bringing up some valid questions. I mean, they're kind of dating back to stuff, and then Lewis is bringing him documents from the 50s, and it's kind of hard to read and all that. And Joe brings up very good points. That's why he's where he's at. I mean, he's not just taking their word for it, but he's also being skeptical of the stuff and challenging them based on the knowledge that he has. You know, and he's not coming in and saying you're just a big bald-faced liar. But George Knapp, there we go. Appreciate that, James. I was like, it completely blew I just went out of my mind. But you know, it's just this whole whistleblower thing is just very interesting. I mean, if you're gonna blow the whistle, blow the whistle. Yep, George is on the word Jeremy Corbell. And I commend them for what they're doing. George Knapp has been doing this since 88, 89, when he first got a hold of Bob Lazar and talked to Bob Lazar, trying to make sure that light is not too bright. When he first got talking with Bob Lazar on stuff, and he put a lot online. I mean, he was the investigative reporter, and he put a lot online doing all that. And we know Bob Lazar had some controversial stuff back in the late 80s, early 90s on some illegal stuff he was doing, and he went to court on it. And I know George Knapp said, you know, that was Bob's chance to, this is getting kind of blurry a little bit, that was Bob's chance to actually come clean and say that what he was doing or his background and stuff wasn't true, but he stuck to what he said he did. So that was interesting, and George Knapp stuck with him ever since. And there's been stuff. I mean, he took element 115, put it in something, and he actually bit light around and stuff. So he showed it that it worked. I couldn't understand it that much, but the way they explained it made somewhat sense. So if you're going to be a whistleblower, I say just come out like Bob, but have some kind of safety or security. I mean, that's what Bob has. I believe he has 115, and that's what's keeping him safe. Maybe he's got it somewhere where if he's no longer here, the 115 is exposed, this whole thing will just blow up. So James says that Stedman Freeman was convinced that they are real. I know Stedman didn't like Bob too much. I know he really didn't. I think it was just some of the stuff that didn't agree with. They just didn't have a total agreement. So he did. Bob didn't care, but Stedman did. But that's interesting too. I mean, Stedman had been doing it since I saw a video of him in the early '70s. So he'd been doing it for a very, very long time. So he had credible knowledge and stuff, and he took a lot of knowledge and information with him when he passed away. I wish he had some kind of protege that he worked with, but so Louis' interviews are starting to all sound the same. I'm reading someone's comment. He never really disclosed anything exactly because he doesn't want to lose his security clearance. What he does says has been known for years. Exactly. He's saying nothing different than David. David Gersh is saying. We all hear it. Well, it's classified. Well, it's classified. Well, then don't come out. To me, and like I said, this is kind of a complaining session because I'm just tired of the last couple years these so-called whistleblowers coming out, and they're probably getting paid, which I mean, whatever, make your money, but you're discrediting this a lot more by coming out saying that you worked for the UAP task force, you did this and that. You know, David says he's never seen a craft. Louis says he has, but he can't talk about it, what he saw. You know, if you're don't do that. You know, because it's like watching a movie and it gets to the good part and it says to be concluded. And you're like, what the? I gotta wait another year or whatever for this to come out. And I've seen a lot of you guys' comments. A lot of you guys are older and you're saying, I want this disclosure now. Why are we, they've been 60, 70 years old. I've seen people talk about that in the comments. And they're saying, I don't want to pass away and not know what's going on. I mean, I have my thoughts on what is going on out there. But they're just my thoughts. They're my speculations. Nothing can be proven true with what I would say. It would just be like these whistleblowers, you know, coming out and just, you know, I can say this, but I can't say this because it's classified, you know. Well, I can say a lot of stuff too. I could just repeat what he said and go from there. So Lance says, the pad money off the corporate military industrial complex keeps them quiet. Yeah, it probably does. And William says Lazar was Teller's nephew, right? He recommended Bob for the job. I'm not sure. I know if you're talking about how he worked at S4, I think there was some other stuff from working at Los Alamos and stuff too that got him that job with that. And of course, he was building jet-powered cars and stuff, all that. It's interesting just how he got involved in that anyway. But I heard that they said that there was a particular incident where they tried to cut one of the reactors from the UFOs open, and there was an explosion, and it killed some of the scientists or whatever on there, and they had to get them replaced. And Bob's story has been the same. He has stuck with it since then. The only thing I cannot find about Bob is someone mentioned to me about something called an alien Bible or something, or an alien yellow pages or the yellow, I don't know what it was called, but it was a certain book that he was, when he was being debriefed on this stuff, he went to another room and he had a book or something that looked like a book, and he opened up. When he opened it up, it actually played a video of whatever it was trying to tell or story it was trying to tell. I still cannot find a video clip on that. So I read that in the forum somewhere and I tried to find the information. I still can't find it. So if I could ever find that, that would be pretty good to put out there for you guys, because I have never seen that. I just heard it on the forum and I've never heard Bob talk about it. So going back to this, Freddie saying, not a visiting scientist at Los Alamos, but referred to him as S4. Okay. I think the best video was the space shuttle videos. We don't get footage like that no more. Yeah, I mean, I looked at, and I was going to do something about this, but I figured you guys would want to see it. I saw one of NASA's live feeds, and it looked completely computer generated. And I did record some of it. I was like, this just doesn't look right. It doesn't seem right. Now, it could have been done in 4K, 8K, or whatever, but it just didn't seem right in the way the camera kept cutting. It looked like I was watching a Star Wars movie. Um, that's what it looked like. I mean, but it looked a little bit more computer generated, if that makes sense. And the sound and the noise, it just didn't look right to me. That's all. That's all I can say. I mean, it had a little silhouette around the Earth or something. It was glowing. It didn't look right. And that's one of their live feeds. You can go to their channel anytime and see it. The NASA YouTube channel, see live feeds. It just doesn't look real to me. But that's me. Who do I know? Compared to what we saw when the ISS was whatever released and other things up there in space, that stuff just didn't look real to me. So. Sorry, getting to some of you guys' comments. I appreciate you joining in, and I appreciate y'all's comments because I'm kind of venting too because I was not happy when I heard about that. I had to pull over and go live and talk about that. So, let's see. Freddie says the Lazar tapes. Sorry about that. The Lazar tapes and excerpts from the government Bible. Yeah, I've got that, and I've done certain things on that. There's certain YouTube strikes that happen with that because some of that stuff is being copywritten by some company that's going out there, seems to be buying all this stuff or whatever. I mean, I had a video I was going to put up about 2 months ago. That was a good video, and they said it had information that could be put out there. I was like, what the? So I re-edited it and it says still something, so I couldn't put it out there. And I thought about putting on my Rumble page, which I haven't been on Rumble in a minute, but what's going on, Big Tune? People are joining in. Okay. So it's not just me then that watched that. And the only reason why I watched it because somebody said earlier had I watched that the Joe Rogan podcast with Louis on there or whatever. And I was like, well, let me watch this as I'm driving and see what's going on. And lo and behold, it's kind of the same thing. I mean, I think when David came out, he got a lot of popularity. I can't remember if Louis was somewhat out before David. I can't remember how that goes. I think he probably was. But David came out, what, last year? He's been out for about a year, a little bit over a year and a half or so. So with him coming out and all these other ones, and then, of course, we have some of the government officials that were trying to come in and expose and talk about this stuff. And, you know, they went to their private sector where they had these meetings, and it was nothing. He even said that these guys were looking like somebody was, you know, had them at gunpoint or something when they were talking. They just thought they couldn't talk about it. Well, don't come out then. If you don't want to talk about it, if you're fearful, don't come out. You know, either you're going to do it or you're not going to do it. I think at some point in time, somebody will come out and say and do something. If you guys remember the Art Bell, remember the guy from, this was over, what, 15 years ago? And I'm getting on a tangent, so if you guys, if you want to go off, you can. I'm sitting here chilling right now, but I'm just thinking about stuff in the past. Remember when Art Bell had the show and the guy called in from Area 51? And he was in a panic, and Art Bell was talking with him, and long story short, he was telling him that he did work at Area 51, and he talked about the particular alien beings that we consider to be alien beings or not, you know, and they've infiltrated our government and stuff. And he had got out, and he was saying he had to tell them some more stuff because they were going to triangulate in on his position. And then all of a sudden, the whole show, his whole studio just shut down. And that had never happened and hasn't since Art Bell had been, you know, live and doing his show. And then they had a backup generator that came back on and this and that. Now, what I find funny was a couple of months later, the guy came back and was, I was just playing and stuff. Now he had the same voice and stuff. But we know that there's voice recognition programs that can replicate our voices and even personality stuff when we talk, have some of the same words and stuff. So I call BS on the guy that recalled in on that, but I don't know if you guys remember that or not. So that's what I consider a whistleblower, a guy that comes out and exposes it, and he probably is no longer with us. And that happened 15 years ago. If you guys remember that, you know what I'm talking about. That happened on the Art Bell show. Coast to coast. You talking about the Art Bell show? Yeah, they've got a YouTube channel. They put out videos just about every day. And they're doing something they did on Red. They're just doing it more now. And they got a lot of interesting theorists that come on there. I don't watch it that much because it's long and it can get far fetched, and sometimes I think it's people and personality types. Um, so William says that the main satellite for the whole West Coast went offline for 5 minutes. See, I didn't know that. But isn't that kind of weird that this guy comes out, calls into the show, starts talking about these alien beings, and that they're not what we think they are. They're a precursor to the space program. Um, just certain particular things in there, and he starts getting ready to expose what's going on. And he started kind of crying on the phone. I mean, it sounded legit. If he was an actor, he was a well-paid actor, and he should have Oscars even to this day for his performance. And then they come back in, and it wasn't the. It was just weird. So, but I didn't know about that satellite being down the West Coast for 5 minutes. That's actually pretty interesting. Yeah, I have to agree. Your medical says if Louis was credible, he needs to come clean like 2001. Yeah, I mean, I if you're gonna be a whistleblower, be a whistleblower. I think one of the only valid whistleblowers we have and is Bob Lazar. I mean, there may have been other people who have done stuff, but they are no longer really with us. We gotta get this thing moving a little bit so that this thing doesn't. There we go. Because the car was gonna shut off. So William says, Art says there were only 3 people in the world that could order that. It carried communication. It carried military communication too. Yeah, I mean, for that to happen, that made it more credible. And he said it never happened. It hasn't happened since. Yeah, extra dimensional. I think he said. Did he say extra or interdimensional? He said one of the two. I think James. I can't remember. I mean, from some of the stuff I've seen and studied, these things are interdimensional, extra dimensional beings. I can't prove it because I haven't seen one like a being. I haven't seen an alien up close. I mean, I told you guys my story before. You guys know I'm a Christian and I've seen demonic beings before and stuff. And it's just a lot of things going on with this. I don't know too much of what to say, only when it gets exposed for what it is, which would be very interesting. I've heard people say, people put in my comments too, which is fine. I mean, I don't filter my comments out. I do have certain filters on certain cuss words. I do have certain filters on if people start arguing back and forth, so I don't have to monitor the comments. So sometimes those do get flagged, and I try to go in and just release them. But yeah, James, I think we all would. I think that I wish we could not. I probably should be trying to do this. We need to get certain chapters in certain states where we have groups like us that get together and discuss this. You know, outside of MUFON and stuff, because I think if we can get general public groups together and start discussing this, and maybe they have a conference once a month, and maybe we can conference each other in, I think we would come closer to getting some more disclosure than what we currently have. Because at that point, I think that somebody's going to come up with something that's going to be like, wow, look at this and that. I mean, I saw a video today, and I don't even know if it's legit or not, but some guy was talking about some UFOs from the late 1940s, early 1950s. And he talked about a lot of them being German designed craft. And he showed one of the circular UFOs underneath it, and it had like 3 balls or something to look like. But he said those were 3, I think he said Mercedes engines underneath the craft to help power the craft. And then also he had a picture of 2 UFOs. Now I'm trying to visually help you guys picture this, but he said it was 2 UFOs and they were actually coming down and landing. Now when they were coming down, there were 2 pieces of metal pointing like this, another was pointing like that. So it was kind of like a triangular shape like that, but it had like a gap in between so the UFO can land on top of it. And he said what that was so that those craft could land on top of that particular, I guess, landing gear we want to call it, or landing pad. And that could help charge the craft and give the craft a charge and stuff. He said, because if not, the craft would land on its own, but it would have 3 legs, is what he said, would come out so the craft could land down, and it would take longer for it to fly off and stuff. So I thought that was interesting, but the photos he showed was not really clear. And these were taken in the 50s, and I was like, yeah, we got better photos from people that just saw craft in the 50s than what he showed there. And then he said, you see these people here. And I was like, I don't see anybody. And I looked in, I was like, ah. So stuff like that I want to show to you guys, but I'm just kind of skeptical of it. Maybe I should put it out there anyway. Or maybe I should just go live one day like I'm doing now and get in front of my computer and show this stuff to you guys, and we can just have a long discussion on, particular things. Maybe I need to do that anyway. Go live once a week and show that to you guys. It'll be a lot easier to do that instead of trying to explain it. So, but back to a couple of these comments. I see what you guys are saying. Last one was James. Big Tuna says, I'm kind of looking at this. Plus the information they present to the government is old news. Yes. Has anyone showed them recent videos? Exactly. And I think we've talked about that before. We got all this new information. We got the Navy pilots that shot photos of particular craft. Why isn't that being shown? To me, they should bring that to the government. We do need weekly meetings. Yeah. In different chapters. Yeah, we do. I mean, I don't know. I should probably try to do something with that. I don't know. Or I would need help to do it. I can't do it alone. Of course, I need you guys' help with all this. But we need to do something. So James says, what do you think about Steve Gear? I think that Steve is sincere in what he says and does. I do think that he is kind of tapping into some spiritual stuff he shouldn't do. And that's just my opinion. I saw one of his videos he did a couple years ago where he had some photos of what he thought was alien beings, or what he described as alien beings, and they were kind of translucent and they were kind of sitting down. But I don't think that that's what he is thinking it is he's getting in contact with. So he has to start being careful. He's getting older, and as we get older, sometimes we get delusional and stuff. But I think he's getting in contact with something that he's not thinking what it is. I mean, he does have a lot of information, though. Don't get me wrong. And some of it may be, misinformation. Some of it may be this or that. But he is at least still pushing the envelope with this and trying to get information out to us. So it's a 50-50 with him. But I'm glad he's doing what he's doing. I'll put it that way. Because he's still pushing to get this disclosure. So Jesse says that that depends. I thought I was ready. And one night I had a realistic dream of a different planet and city. And I was adventuring. I opened the door and a little gray was there. And I slammed the door. Fear. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I mean, we think we're ready to see it, but you guys remember that footage I put out, and it's been out there for a while, about the people that said they saw the aliens that landed in Russia. And that's where Skinny Bob came from, I guess, the Skinny Bob video. So it looks cool when we see it on video, but what you going to do when you actually see it in person? If you see something like that walking around, is that going to freak you out or what? Yep, Freddie, that is the German craft too. I can't even pronounce that. I forgot how that's pronounced yet. But the Germans did do stuff. I mean, I've heard so many different things with the Germans that wouldn't even be funny. I mean, you guys saw the video above Majestic where they talked about that, how they said the Germans were giving working craft. They had these 8 to 12 foot tall reptilian looking alien beings or whatever that came to them and gave them workable craft. I heard that the cigar-shaped UFOs that people saw were actually submarines, and they designed them like that because they were modular in construction. So they could be built and made longer, shorter, and they were already constructed to where they were airtight. So it was easier just to put a big reactor in those and let those things fly. Which brings back to something that Boyd Bushman showed. Some guy who did an interview with him over 20 years ago. And he showed him something, and Boyd Bushman told him that he said that this could fly. But I think what he was trying to convey to him was that that's something that goes inside something that'll make it fly, because it looked like a big engine or something. And the guy, he talked about a lot of different things on there. So, yep, we getting into the German Bell. We getting into Antarctica. You get into a lot of stuff. I mean, you got to think about the Germans' technology, that they went from nothing to something quick. I mean, no one thought about a jet-powered craft, but the Germans were the first to do it. So I thought that was interesting. And also in 1939, if you guys look it up, 38 or 39, they were the first people to broadcast the television broadcast overseas. So technologically, they were there. I mean, they did a lot of experimentations. They had somebody to back them up. Sorry, this guy's coming over here. I'm at the gas station and he's, I guess, asking for money or gas money or something. But anyway, he looked like he pretty healthy too, y'all. Like he could go on quick trip and get a job there. But he threw me off track. I think I was talking about the Germans and stuff. You guys are commenting. Let me see what you guys are saying before I get back to my yapping. Lance, I'm trying to see what you say. I can't pronounce that word, so I'm sorry. Doesn't live far from me. I guess it's a place. Doesn't live far from me. Doesn't live far from me. There's other places down here to interact with light beings. One is in South Carolina. Okay. I mean, there's certain societies. So I see what you guys are saying here. If Skinny Bob was walking around to help breed new life, I'm ready for it. Like we already have this. Yeah. And I almost paid a visit to Skinwalker Ranch a couple years ago. A friend went to go there, but I was like, yeah, I ain't going there. So, so it's so interesting to hear these stories, and some of them may sound science fiction, but they may actually be science fact. I mean, you think about, like I said, with the Germans, they were the first ones to broadcast a television broadcast overseas, so they had technology to do that. They created these jet craft. I mean, even though if you look at the record, when they got these jet craft out there, they were faster than airplanes, but when they were first introduced, the American pilots and all the other pilots were still able to shoot them down because they were used to the airplanes, even though the jets were faster. But they started getting better. But I remember watching a POW years ago who talked about when he was of course a prisoner at some Nazi camp or something, and he saw the jet craft fly for the first time. It scared him and it blew his mind. He said, "Oh my God, we are going to lose the war," because going from something that's an airplane that's going probably about what 100, 120, maybe 200, I guess, to something that was going 400 or 500, and you see that fly, that would blow anybody's mind. And then, of course, the Nazis, since they were doing what they were doing, they were always trying to progress forward. They went from that to, of course, trying to seem like they were trying to create these anti-gravity craft, because some other guy in a report, the same guy I was saying about who talked about the UFO crafts, he said that the Germans were going over to India trying to find out about certain, I'm trying to get this glare off of me a little bit and still show me. Um, and they went over to India and they were trying to figure out about certain things. They learned about levitation and how levitation could work. And that's when they came back, started working on, of course, the Nazi Bell project. So it's very interesting how all that kind of comes in together if you start really looking around and reading and seeing what's going on. So, okay, I'll have to look at that too. I'm going to screen capture that because I'm going to misspell that if it'll, nope, won't let me do it. So I have to try to come back, Michael, to hopefully these comments are still showing on YouTube. And Antonio says, what about the Mandalorian aliens that came out of the cigar-shaped spacecraft? Any surround spacecraft, they had guns or something, I heard on that website. I have to check that out too. I've never heard about that. Yep, Project Paperclip. William, you're right. Look what we got from the Germans. I mean, if you watch that movie Majestic, and I'm sorry this is too blurry in here. Like I said, I'm in my car if you guys are just joining. I'm just kind of yapping on stuff now. But if you watch that Above Majestic, the first few minutes is very interesting. The first several minutes of that show. Um, I still have a hard time personally believing the off-planet stuff where people say they have been taken and taken off planet to work, you know, things like that. So, yeah, Big Will, that's you. You're catching a lie, so that's one of my friends, Will, that's joining on. Will Thomas there. William Thomas. So, but those are things that I just thought was very interesting when people were talking about being taken off planet. I can't think of the guy, you guys may know right now in the comments, but there was a guy who said that he was in grade school and there was a kid that was in his class that looked funny. And apparently the kid could read minds or whatever. But one day the funny looking kid was trying to impress a girl. And he said he could read her thoughts and the girls were laughing. And he walked up and the girl said, hey, he can read your thoughts. And I'm trying to get this glare off of here. That may be a little bit better. And they said, thanks something. So the weird kid was sitting there and the other kid was thinking, oh my God, this kid looks really weird and he's shaped funny. And so he said that girl's like, read my thoughts, and he said, well, he's thinking this, and whatever it was controversy. But the kid's dad worked for the Illuminati, and he went home and told his dad. And then at some kind of school meeting, he said, that's the kid that hurt my feelings. And for some reason, since he hurt that kid's feelings, he was selected to be someone that they took off world and went through this crazy thing for like, what was it, 10, 15 years? I mean, if that's all you gotta do is insult some Illuminati's kid that looks weird, that can read your mind and take off, well, we'd all be doing that. So I just thought his story was a little bit far-fetched, but he did talk about also a financial system that was set up that was kind of like the blockchain for crypto. But he also had other things too. He talked about a super soldier program, how they take them off plane. I can't see somebody be taken off plane overnight, doing all this stuff and being brought back. Now I know that space and time is different when you leave this planet, because we know that other planets, their 1 year or their one rotation of their planet, which would be considered a day for them, could be a year for us. So I understand that, but I also think about other things too, the human aging factor and stuff. But I thought his story was a little bit far-fetched, but lands 20 and back. Okay. I mean, then there's things about, he talked about Bigfoot. He said that Bigfoot was an alien being and that it can manifest and come and go as it wants. That's why the people hardly see it. Don't know if that's true or not, but he said there was a race of Bigfoot-looking alien beings, but we've only seen maybe one possible credible video from the 1960s. That was it. So William says time travel. Yeah, I think time travel could be possible only in either, not so much for me going back in time, saying you can go back to the 40s or 50s. That's just me though. I think that you could time travel, meaning that I could go to space, or I could go to some far distant planet in our solar system, and it took me maybe a year to get there, but because I was in this anti-gravity craft that distorted time and time ceased to exist or slow down, that time would slow down for me, and I come back and it's 20 years later and people are dead or whatever. I believe in time travel like that, because if you guys look at the space astronauts, some of you guys may know this, when they go to space and they're up there and then they come back, they actually have to be, kind of decompressed or whatever for a while. And they've even talked about how time seems to be going backwards because time is slower out there. It's a different gravitational pull, so time is not going to be the same. Yeah, that may be it, Corey. That may be the guy. I think thanks, Lance. That may be him. I think it's his name, Corey Good or whatever. He was the one that talked about being off planet for 20 years and going through all this stuff and experimentation. He's got books on it. Some of it, like I said, it seems science fiction. It could be science fact. But some of it, I was like, that doesn't seem right. And there's another guy who came out who said he was in a super soldier like program. I'm looking at him, I'm like, yeah, bruh, you were not in the super soldier program looking like that. But they talked about off-world wars and just all kinds of stuff that's supposed to be going up there, going on in space. But if some of this stuff to me is going on in space, we would have seen some of it, especially around some of the planets, whether it's the moon. I've seen people on YouTube do videos of Mars, and I still don't know why Mars is a blur. I mean, I've seen people put videos on the rings of Saturn, but yet we can't see close on Mars. I thought that was pretty interesting too. So sorry about that, Bob. He says, wow, the glance is coming over your shoulder. I'm trying to adjust this somewhat. I'm in my car. Like I said, I was watching that video and I just had to pull over and just talk to you guys. I hardly go live as it is. I need to start going live more and maybe putting up images and stuff so we can look at it and just look at it a little bit closer. But I was trying to avoid that light, so it'd be cool if it was a UFO light, right? And I got a UFO came down live while I was on the video. That'd be pretty good. You guys could see one firsthand. But I do appreciate y'all. I appreciate everybody joining in for this live. If you're coming in now, I'm in my car. We're just basically talking. I was watching the Joe Rogan podcast with Louis on there, Lewis on there, and he just said some stuff that made me have to pull over and speak with you guys real quick on it because I thought it was very interesting. So, yeah, Michael, there's an infinite universe. There are infinite possibilities. So, the problem with the 20 and back, that wouldn't be the same Earth when you go back, different dimensions. Yeah, which I would understand that. Um, it's just it's hard for me. I'm not, like I said, this is just my opinions on it. So my opinions mean nothing. It's just hard for me to believe that he was taken every night, like he said, taken on the ship, whatever was going on with it, reprogrammed his mind. He was up there and he was brought back, and that happened for 20 years. You know, I don't know if he's been under hypnosis, and they've talked about that, but it's very interesting. Yeah, I think Corey Good was the guy with the kid story. So Corey was the one that insulted the kid that had a weird shaped face and head that could read minds. That was the son of somebody in the Illuminati, and he told his dad about it, and his dad said basically, "We're gonna get him," and then he got, you know, inducted into their whatever program they were doing, and he was taken every night for 20 years or something. So I appreciate that, Will. I forgot the story, but there was another documentary. I'm reading Big Tuna, where the aliens were shooting at soldiers during the war going on, and it was a laser plasma projectile fired. So I've heard several different things, and I don't know if you guys want me to keep yapping like this or not, but I've heard several different stories about this. I mean, we of course have um, who was the guy that got his hand shoved off or got his hand when he had the attack with the aliens? Was it William? I can't think of his name right now. But we have the one guy who said they had a firefight with the aliens or some reptilian beings when they were digging down the tunnel. They were building domes or defense underground military bases, and they had a firefight down there. And we have him. We have the one guys who I think in the early 70s they were going to some place where a lot of the alien craft or reactors were, and the aliens were telling them not to come in there because they had weapons on them. And something about the area and the weapons they had, like the guns and stuff, it was going to be a discharge. And the soldiers were like, no, we're coming in there. And then there was a fight or an argument, and the soldiers didn't make it out. That's the best way to put it. So there's a couple of things with stories of people interacting with beings. I think there was a document on Tubi where a guy was talking about a soldier, and a soldier got into it with one of these beings or something, and he said it like zapped him and the whole guy evaporated, kind of like Star Trek. He said he was just evaporated like that. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But I've heard several different stories about stuff. I mean, we know that some of the stuff we see on TV kind of desensitizes us to what's going to happen in reality at some point in time. So we got a couple more people joining in. Shifty in there, Zero. What's going on? Appreciate you guys coming in. I'm just kind of yapping now. I was looking at some stuff and I just thought it was interesting getting you guys' feedback. And we're just chatting right now. I mean, the cast may not be the best. It's kind of blurring in. I am in my car and I'm trying to read these comments from my phone. So let's see. We see the new meteor showers lighting frequently. We see the space and the sky battles. Yeah, you would think by now somebody would have saw some of that stuff. We would have thought by now somebody would have caught something. I mean, there's a couple people that's got YouTube channels that show stuff from the moon, which is very interesting. I mean, you could buy something off of Amazon for $400 or $500 where you can literally see the craters on the moon. I know the Mythbusters came in and said, "Oh, well, you're never going to see the American flag because it's too small." Yeah, no, you would see the American flag up there. You would see at least some of what happened to the buggies and stuff up there. And we don't even want to get into the whole moon landing stuff. That's even more, just confusing what they're saying with that. I appreciate that, Will. You said you're super cool. I think you're talking about what's important. Yeah, I'm just speculating on a lot of this stuff, and I want to get you guys' feedback because I don't know a lot of this stuff. I do question some things, but so he says, dude, I gotta figure out somebody to borrow some kind of camera or something to be able to record the crazy stuff I've been consistently seeing out here in Tennessee. Well, we're in Tennessee. If there's people out there in Tennessee, go ahead and say it now. Maybe you guys can meet up and maybe they have some good recording equipment. He said like the craft the size of 3 apartment buildings. Take a photo, man. Take a photo, send it over. If I can't seem to enhance it to show people what it is, we'll find somebody that can. Email them over to us. Whenever you guys see anything, I say take a photo or video and send it. I put most of the I put everything out there. I ain't gonna say most of the stuff. I know some people say some of the stuff is controversial, but I haven't gotten anything lately from anyone. But I would say send that stuff over. Yeah, if you're seeing stuff at the same time, take some photos and put it out there, and I'll do a video so people can meet up with you. Take some photos, send me an email, tell me what time, and the next time you meet out there, the next time it happens, you won't be out there by yourself, and you'll have witnesses with you. And that's what I think is going to get us to the point to getting some of this disclosure, is us coming together. We can't do it solo, and we can't do it under other organizations' rules. And I'm talking about, just other organizations. I mean, I don't think you're going to be able to do it in there. We need to come together. If there was an Atlanta chapter, maybe I'll start it here. Maybe we'll meet once a month, and just talk about it. I don't know, just to do that. But so Lance said there's videos of Corey sitting in the court for his failed claims like this. And hopefully that's Corey who we're talking about. So William says, yap away. That's about 20 of you guys on. So if you guys ever get bored, I'll see the number drop. George says, use your phone. Yes. Take it with whatever you got. You guys have seen some of the stuff I've seen out there. And I try to enhance the video or the photo a little bit. I'll try to make it like it's a craft or whatever. But I try to do a little bit with it just so you guys see. Like the video I put out today. Somebody saw, they said a triangular shaped craft. And I'm sorry, I'm clearing my throat a lot. But they said they saw a triangular shaped craft and they took some photos of it. They took one photo of it. I showed you guys that one photo. But once you get the photo and you can enhance it in and make it larger and change the background around the craft, you can actually see more of the craft. So take it. It's better to do photos and videos. Just take it what you got. Don't try to do anything and then send them over. And of course, if I can't do anything, there's somebody out there that can. But I'll see what I can do. Because if we can get something and see the shape around, we'll be good. And Phil Schneider, yep, that's who it was. That's who I was talking about earlier. Phil Schneider with the hands that had the stuff with you. People say that he wasn't true, that he was a psycho, and people have. I don't know. I wish he would have opened his shirt up to show his chest, because somebody else said that he got his 3 hands cut off from working at some school or something in some saw. But I wish he would have opened his shirt up and showed his chest, because he basically said they were working on building these defense underground military bases called DUM, and they ran into these reptilians and they had a firefight with them, and he pulled out, of course, the pistol. He shot one, and one went down and one was deceased. Gotta watch the words on YouTube. And then another one that he shot or fired that went down, he said he circled his hand over his chest and this glow came out and hit him and opened him up. And he said a Marine took him, put him on one of the elevator shafts, whatever, and he went up and the Marine saved his life. And of course, he took his own life later on, which was very interesting anyway. So Phil is one. Who was the guy? William Cooper that rode Behold a Pale White Horse. He was very interesting. He's the one that was out on the Navy ship at night, and he saw the moon, and he looked down the ocean. He said, why is the moon that bright in the ocean? And the moon started moving on the ocean, and it came up, and it was a UFO. And he said it slowly just spit out the ocean, and he saw it as it rose up, and then it shot off towards the moon. And he went in and talked to the admiral, and the admiral was like, you didn't see that. And, that's what started him on the path of doing that and writing that book. So if you guys get a chance, if you haven't read Behold a Pale White Horse, it's pretty interesting. So Michael says, have you guys listened to the Preston, how do you pronounce his last name? Danette on YouTube. Great UFO researcher. And every Friday he comes out with a new episode about ETs. This is so great. I'll check that out. If you can, put a link in here, Michael, so we can, I think the link will come through. We'll put a link in there. We'll check that out. Hopefully these comments will come up when I end this video in just a bit. We've been on here for almost an hour. I didn't realize we were on here that long. I'm going to have to move this car forward because I am kind of sitting here. So I'm going to move around and then I'm gonna back it up just a minute. I'll probably get off here in just a few minutes too, because Quick just probably like, what's this guy doing? Sitting there in his car. So we'll end this in a few minutes. If you guys want, when I get back home, we can. It'll be late though, but go back live or talk at another time. Or maybe we'll just go live every Sunday night. How about that? So going back to a couple comments real quick. So this says George Wilson only. The iPhone 8 will be fine. It won't pick up the stars or lights or the sky. I would say do it and see. Just take a picture, send it over, take a video, send it over, send it to my email, and we'll see. I mean, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But the biggest thing is that if you can take a picture of what you see and let me know the time and date you go out there, I will put it out there and you can meet some other people out there. Like I said, none of us can do this alone, but together we can. So if you can get people in your area, let me know your area and we'll find somebody out there. If you're not too far, I'm in Georgia, so Tennessee just depends on what part you're in. It's not that far. Maybe I'll make a trip down there and get some crew members or something to come down there and we'll do this together and see what you're seeing. So Lance says his pop worked on the Minuteman missiles and was there in the late 60s when the craft took control of the missiles. Yeah, and Louis talked about that too. He talked about how certain craft were coming around nuclear military base with nuclear, warheads and stuff, and they shut them off. And then sometimes they said they turned them on. So that was interesting. And he also talked about how Russia was communicating with the United States and back and forth. How they're saying, "Hey, we got these UFOs out here, so don't shoot your nukes thinking this is us. We got to figure out what's going on with this." So that stuff is kind of legit and interesting. I've never heard that concept or theory before, but I haven't finished watching it, so he may say some other interesting stuff too. But well, like I said, just send those pictures over to me. If you got some right now, send them over. Look at my previous video from today, and you'll see my email. And you can send those over, and I'll do a video tomorrow. I'll post something up and just say, hey, this is what you're getting. If you're in this area, come out here at this time, and you'll meet them out there. There you go, George. Snag a friend if he comes out there. Yeah, I would love to see him too. So like I said, send them over. Send them over. Send them over. Send them over after this video. Or send them over now. If you send them over now, maybe I'll do something later tonight or put something out. What days or nights are you? When are you seeing these? That's what I want to know. So around 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, they pop up. Okay. Now you did say you smoke around 3 or 4, so we have to make sure we get some people out there to make sure I'm not discrediting you, but we'll have to get somebody in the area or something. There's a lot of cop cars pulling over here too. It's kind of interesting. About 3 or 4 now. So yeah, over 2 miles in the tunneling system. I'm just looking at a couple of you guys' comments. You guys just coming in. We're about to end this in a few minutes. I've been on it for I didn't plan on being on for an hour. I was kind of yapping about some stuff, and I just the whole new twist to the Roswell crash. This was like, no, I got to talk to y'all about this. So yeah, I'm in the vet. I'm sitting up here. You guys don't know I do have a C8 Corvette. I got a 24 C8 Corvette. So if you guys follow me on my other YouTube channel, I got an RC channel too. Most of you guys know it, JTRC. I have one of the shirts on. I've showed it a little bit on there. I got it December of last year. So I thank the Lord. I'm like, yes, I got a C8 Corvette. So well, William, send those pictures over to me. He says him and his friends are slowly seeing rectangular craft with 3 lights. Send them over to me. Email them to me. Just email me what you got, and I'll take a look at it. If they can be somewhat visible, then yeah. So Lance says that 3 or 4 or 5 encounters with different crafts with different looks. Yeah, and I still haven't figured out why everything looks different. I know Bob Lazar did claim he saw 9 different shaped craft at Area 51 in those hangar bays, and each one was different. So maybe it's like I'm sitting up here and I don't see any other Corvettes, but I see a Mustang, I see 2 or 3 police cars, I see a luxury car SUV. So maybe it's kind of like that. You know, they all serve different purposes. So Wednesday I can find pictures of Will's wounds online. Okay, I have to look for that because I am kind of looking at that. I do have a video about an incident where a guy came down and saw a UFO, and he looked inside of it. He said certain things, and the craft actually made a mark on his chest. I can't think of his name right now. I got so many things in my head, but I do have something like that. So it'll be interesting to talk about some of that stuff too. So I'll find some. I'll have to try to find, because I didn't know there was pictures of his wounds of his chest. Freddie says it too. He showed his chest wound, so I'm gonna have to look that up. And this is why I need you guys. Sometimes my mind just goes completely south, and I didn't know that there were pictures he showed. It'd be nice to have some kind of medical record of that too, but maybe that was just trashed or something. So Don says he loved the book. Are you talking about Louis' book? Are you talking about Phil's book? Or are you talking about William Cooper? So he's in Portland, Tennessee. So if anybody's in Portland, Tennessee and wants to see some UFOs late at night between 3 and 4, let us know. Lance said Christopher Columbus documented an encounter of a light source coming out of the ocean. I believe that too. No problem, William. We're probably going to end this in just a few minutes. Been on it for an hour or so. Yeah, your chat's not behind. I'm behind. I'm scrolling through the comments, so I'm trying to scroll down. If more people are commenting, so I'm just trying to make sure I read through these comments before I end this. We got Josh from Alaska. Appreciate you joining in. This was just kind of a last kind of come in and go live thing, so trying to make sure I go through these comments. I appreciate that, Michael and Lance, going through a couple of these things. I ain't been. I appreciate that. You know I love my vid. Yeah, no problem. Like I said, send those photos over to me. Everybody else does. I mean, people stop sending them after a while, but I need to just do a video. Say, if you have some, send them over. You know, I'll put them out there. You guys can get together as a group and stuff. But I think we do need to start trying to start chapters in every state or something. You know, it'll get out of hand. It'll be some crazy stuff going on. But if we can start it small and grow from that point, I think it'll be good. So yeah, I probably am gonna try to start just going live once a week, maybe every Sunday. I I do have some software equipment. I just haven't tested it yet. Maybe we can start talking about things throughout the week, or going back to like show some photos and stuff. I even have the original PDF book of the moon, when they first went to the moon, and you can see stuff on there. It's on a 20-something-year-old computer I got in my house. I have not fired up. It will not touch the internet at all. Shoot, it's probably got some Bitcoin on it for all I know. But I need to get that out or download some of that to a flash drive and show that to you guys, because these were taken in I think the book was published in the 70s, and I found it 2000, 2001, I think it was. So Big Tuna says there was a legit picture. I thought it was just drawings of the alien wounds. I'm gonna look and see. And if you guys want a video on it, I'll do a whole video on him at some point. My videos are short because my time's kind of limited. I need to spend more time on it because I know the YouTube algorithm wants longer videos. So if I put out a 2 or 3 minute video, you would think that it would be fine, but it's, I just gotta work with that. Be careful contacting ETs. I know there's ways you can contact them, and I will not do a video on how you can do it, and I will not say how you can do it. I did do a video on a guy that did contact him. If you go to my video archive and you look on the oldest videos, it might have been my 10th video. There was a guy out there that actually contacted him, and he showed on the news, and it was interesting. And the guy passed away a couple years later, but There are ways to do it. I just would be very, very, very cautious. I don't recommend it personally. Um, I mean, Stephen Greer does, but I just think he's contacting some other interesting stuff. So all right. If you guys want, I'm gonna end this. If you're okay with this, I'm seeing some of you guys' comments. Like I said, I'm sitting in this car, and it's not the best live broadcast, so I do apologize about that. But I do always enjoy talking with you guys. I always get some more information. So appreciate you joining, George. I'll keep the ball rolling as much as my brain can tolerate what's going on. So yeah, you guys all take it easy. I appreciate you joining in. Maybe we'll go live. You guys want to just start going live Sundays? I don't know. We can go live at Sundays at 9 or 10 or something. We can go live for an hour or two, and I can just go ahead and start getting some stuff set up, and we can just make it that. I can go live, and then I can also have it to where users, maybe they're having testimonies or stories trying to come in and do stuff. So maybe we'll start trying to do that. I'll start trying to go live more, and I'll start trying to do longer videos. I know people have asked me too. They want to see longer videos and stuff, so I'll end up doing that. So, all right, guys, I'm gonna get off of here. I always appreciate you guys joining. If I get this information about these Tennessee UFOs, I will definitely share it with you guys so we can check that out. And if it's not too far from me, I will drive down there and I will stay up till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and see what I can see. So, all right, guys, I appreciate you joining, and I will see you in the next video as always.